In this video, I'm going to provide an overview on how to do simulation and perform hydrologic modeling using HEC HMS. Before starting, I'm assuming that you already have knowledge on hydrology because we will not go through the details of hydrologic processes. Now let us start. HEC HMS, what is it? HEC stands for Hydrologic Engineering Center. This is it. This is the model window. And the HMS stands for Hydrologic Modeling System, meaning that HEC HMS is the Hydrologic Engineering Center Hydrologic Modeling System model. This model was developed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. This model was designed to simulate the complete hydrologic processes of dendritic watershed systems or watersheds with a single outlet. The HEC HMS model can be applied to simulate rainfall runoff processes. This HEC HMS can also be used to calculate runoff volume. It can also be used to calculate the peak discharge or the peak flow. HEC HMS can be used to analyze urban flooding. HEC HMS can be used to analyze flood frequency. It can be used to do the flood warning system planning. It can also be used to do the reservoir spillway capacity, to calculate the spillway capacity. The HEC HMS can also be used to do the stream restoration, among others. So in the calculation of the total runoff of the sub-basin, HEC HMS compute the volume of water that is intercepted, infiltrated, stored, evaporated or transpired, and is subtracting it from the precipitation in order to get the total sub-basin runoff. The HEC HMS is a free program, so if you want to download it, you can go straight to this website. It is a free program. You can easily download it for free here and install it. So HEC HMS implements a series of hydrological methods to represent different physical processes of a water cycle. And this program, I was saying, it can be downloaded on this website of the Hydrologic Engineering Center homepage. I have downloaded and installed it, so I don't need to download it again. So HEC HMS can be used in a lumped or semi-distributed mode, and it can also be used for event simulation or simulating a continuous process, or it can be used to simulate a single event or in a continuous simulation. But in many cases, HEC HMS is commonly used for event simulations, mainly for hydrologic design. So as you see here, HEC HMS, this is its window. It has different it includes different GIS tools that will allow modelers to delineate elements. If you want to delineate a given point, you can also use HEC HMS to delineate that element. To define discretization, it can also be used to compute sub-basin and leach characteristics or estimate model parameters. So in front of of view, you can see now the window, the HEC HMS window interface. It has different parts. Let's go through each parts. So HEC HMS window or HEC HMS interface has this small window, the one I'm highlighting now. This small window is called Watershed Explorer. This is the Watershed Explorer. HEC HMS has also this part which is called Component Editor. On this side you can see like a map. This is the desktop where you can view your elements, watershed, your catchment elements. This is the desktop, and we have also another part, important part here below, which is called message log. That's where you can see different warnings and the other messages related to what you are doing within HEC HMS. So repeating, this is the Watershed Explorer, this is the component editor, this is the desktop, and this is the message log. So coming back to the desktop part, this is the desktop. It's like a map interface as you see it, and it is where you will see the sub-basins. This is an example. This is one of the projects I have opened so that you can understand what I'm saying. This is where you can see your sub-basin. This is a sub-basin that I have created. This is a sub-basin that I have created. This is a reach. Maybe I will come back to this. That's where you can see junction. If you have a junction, you can also see it through this desktop, or reservoir, sinks, and the other catchment or basin elements. In the Watershed Explorer, this is the Watershed Explorer, this small window. In the Watershed Explorer, as you see, you have a different folders. So if you wanted to get access to a given component of your project, that's where you can get access. So the Watershed Explorer provides a quick access to all components in HEC HMS project. If you want to have access to your basin you have created, that's where you can have access. If you want to have access to your meteorologic model, that's where you can do the control, the time series data. That's where you can access your folders. If you want to, for example, you can easily navigate from your sub-basin. This is the sub-basin I have. Mine is called Mukungwa. You can navigate from a sub-basin to precipitation gauge. So assume that maybe you have a precipitation gauge. You can go to the time series. This is the precipitation gauge that I'm having with its data. So you see that you can navigate from one folder to another of your projects. So that's where you access your folders in this window or in this Watershed Explorer. So not only that, but also the Watershed Explorer will show you what is included in the model. So if you have a basin, you will see the name of your basin. That's what I was saying. This is the name of your basin. If you click the name of your basin, it will show what is included in the basin model. So I have already clicked my basin. So you see what is included in my basin model. So this is my basin folder. If I click and I continue to click, this is what is in my basin model. So I have sub-basin, I have a reach, and I have a sink within this folder. So you see that I'm accessing different folders within this Watershed Explorer. If you want, you can also access your time series data. This is the time series folder, precipitation, and the other data you might have. And within here you can also access the simulation run, the results. You can access different things within this window. So now let us continue with the component editor, which is here below. This is the window called component editor. Within this component editor, what can you do with it? Mainly this window shows the details of each selected component or object of the Watershed Explorer. This is the Watershed Explorer. If you click something within this, for example, if I click this basin, you will see something shown in this component editor. So you see, I have clicked the Mukungwa basin or sub-basin. Now you can see its characteristic, what is contained, the unit. If you want to change the unit from metric to US customary, you can do it here. If you want to include sediments in your model, and other methods can be accessed here. You see, this is the importance of the component editor. So when you select something in a Watershed Explorer, the parameters associated with that element or that object you have selected or information will be shown in this component editor. For example, if I click the meteorologic model here, you see that its characteristic will be shown in this component editor. So if I click something like control specification, its characteristic will be shown here in the component editor. If I click the time series, maybe if I select the gauge, rain gauge, its characteristic or its information will be displayed here in this component editor. This is the use of the component editor. From that you can maybe change the different parameters. For example, if I click here the Mukungwa, or if I click the sub-basin, this is the area of the sub-basin, I can change the area from this component editor, or I can put it like a 500 kilometers square as the area of my sub-basin. So that's where you can change, see the information, change them, and so on of different object. So now let's go to the message log. Message log. This is the window. Message log. What does it do? So this portion or this window, or when you are simulating something, or when you do something in HEC HMS model, or that information or information is displayed in this message log. When, for example, when you run a simulation, let's try to run a simulation. You just keep checking this window. I'm going to run a simulation. I'm running a simulation. You see that I'm getting different messages from this message log. You get a message related to your simulation or related to what you are doing in HEC HMS. You see that I'm getting different messages. So, and within this window, that's where you get a message. If there is an error, that's where you get a message telling that you have made maybe a mistake, or there is an error, note, warnings, or those things are shown here. Let's take an example. Let me do an error purposely, and you will see that we will get a message that there is an error. Let's maybe go to my sub-basin and maybe delete the area. So I'm going to run, but running my model, there is no error for that catchment. So it will show me that I have forgotten the area. So when I compute, errors immediately are found. They are telling me that no area is set for the sub-basin. So you see, so if I go and I change that, no error will come again. So if I put my 500 and run the model again, so now my model is now running properly, so I can see the results. This is where you get your message. If you want, you can clear all the message like this. So this is the use of this message log. In fact, these are the parts of this HEC HMS interface. So you can have seen that mainly we have like four parts. We have the desktop, we have the Watershed Explorer, we have the component editor, and we have the message log. HEC HMS has also the menu bar, which is this one, and the toolbar, which is this one. On the menu bar, you see you can create a new project, you can open an existing project, you can import some element, like you can do simulation land, you can import the simulation, you can import a basin model, meteorologic, control specification, and so on. You can export as well a basin model. You can save as, and so on. You can edit, you can view your map layers, you can zoom in, zoom out. So this is where you can create different components of your model. You can create a basin, you can create a meteorological model. We come back to this. We can control, make a control specification, add data, and so on. Within just this menu bar, you have also GIS part where you can do different things. You can delineate an element, you can do other things in HEC HMS. Within here, you can also just access different parameters of your model, the sub-basin, and so on. You can compute, you can run your model, and you can see or display the results through here and other tools, or you can use the help to get different information in manuals about this model. For the toolbars, you can this is the shortcut. You can save through here or create a new project. You can zoom, maybe like this, and you can do many things within this bar. So these are different tools you can use within this model. If you want, you can create a sub-basin. If you create here, this is a sub-basin, and if you click here in the desktop, immediately you will be creating a sub-basin called sub-basin 2. If you click create, it will be created. This is it. We are creating a sub-basin. Once it is created, immediately it is shown here in the window explorer. Not only that, but also you can do other things. So this is, you see the sub-basin is shown in the Watershed Explorer here. We can also create the reach. If you want, you can create a reach. So remember that this sub-basin is like representing a catchment, whereby you can input the different physical parameters. You can also create a reach. It can be a canal or a river. Now the reach is created. Upon creating the reach, you can also create the reservoir element. This is the reservoir. You can create the junction. If we have two element meeting a given point, you can create just a junction. This is an element, an icon for junction. You can create a diversion like this. You can create a source like this. You can create a sink or an outlet like this. So just to remind you that when you are creating different element of a basin or a catchment, the basin created, this is, once I click it, you see you can feel its information here. immediately they appear here. So you can put the area for that sub-basin. You can put what is the downstream of that basin. If there is a reach, you can select and so on. You can put the coordinates here and select the method that we will see later. So this is the reach. The reach, you can put its characteristics, the junction, the reservoir, the diversion, and so on. For the sub-basin in HEC HMS converts rainfall hydrograph into runoff hydrograph. For the reach in HEC HMS, it routes or it transports runoff hydrograph from one place to another. For reservoir in HEC HMS, it simulates this element. When it is here, it simulates the reservoir behavior, or a reservoir in impoundment, or something like that, or a lake, something. It will be representing a lake, a reservoir, pond, something like that. So when you have now a junction element, it connects elements. For example, if you have two leaches, let's create a leach. You can put your junction. Maybe here, showing that that's where the two leaches meet. So the aim or the purpose of a junction is to connect two elements in HEC HMS or in a created basin. For the diversion, this is the diversion. These elements divert water from an element. If you want to divert water, maybe from a given element, let's say maybe from a reach to something else, to a reservoir, you can put this diversion element. For the source, this icon adds water to an element, and the sink drains an element. It drains an element, or it is an outlet, a watershed outlet. If you have a catchment, its outlet here will be represented by this icon called the sink. So these are some of the things you have to know within HEC HMS. And here, if you are learning a simulation, you can select it here. And if you wanted to compute, this is where you click and you immediately simulate. And here you can see different results. This is where you can see different results for calibration and so on. Yes, that's it. So in order to perform a HEC HMS simulation, we need to have these four files: project file, basin file, meteorologic file, and the control specification file. So when we are creating a HEC HMS model, basically we are creating these four files. So the first is the project file, this one, and it has an extension .HEC HMS file it contains the project name, it contains the model version, data file name, and time zone. This file also contains names and description of other files which are here below. It means that it contains the basin file, it contains the meteorological file, and the control specification file. So another important file is the basin file. The basin file has an extension of .basin file, and it contains the watershed physical characteristics. You remember, such as the curve number or the land use characteristics, land cover characteristics, and so on. Stream network, the connectivity and the methods or parameters used to simulate the hydrologic processes. All these information are in the basin file. Another file is the meteorologic file, which has an extension of .met. This file contains information about the meteorologic or the weather input. And the last one is the control specification file. It has just a .control. This file contains information on the simulation. If you are simulating a given event or a given hydrologic process, you need to indicate the starting time or starting date and the ending time or ending time, and the interval, the time interval. If you are starting on 1st January, this is the starting. If it is ending on 30 January, it is the end time. And the interval, it is maybe 1 hour, 15 minutes, or 1 day, and so on. That is the time interval. All these information are in the control specification file. Let's take an example and create a new project, and we will see how these are created. So this is the window or interface of HEC HMS. Let's create maybe a new project, and let's call it maybe, let's call it Sevilla. Let's call it Sevilla, and save it somewhere. Let's save it here in HEC HMS tutorials, and let's call it Sevilla. So if I create it, and if I go, or before going there, I can maybe add something like a basin. Let me create a basin. I have created a basin. I want to create something else. Let me create a meteorological model. It is created, and let me create a control specification as well. It is now created, and yeah, that's all. Maybe if I want, I can also create maybe something like a gauge or something like that. So let's go to the folder and see if we can get that thing. So if we come to where we have saved our project, you can see, as we said, we should be having the project files. A project file which has .hms. This is it, sevilla.hms. We should be having the basin file which has an extension of .basin. This is it. We should be having a meteorologic file which has a .met extension. .met. Where is it? This is it. And we should be having control specification file which has .control. This is it. Mainly these are the files that you should be having when you are performing a HEC HMS simulation. These are the 4 files that you should be having. So when you say that you have created a HEC HMS model, basically these are the files that you are creating. So what is remaining is now to fill every file or every component to fill the characteristics and so on, the meteorology to fill the data, the required data, and so on. So thank you.